I'm a conservative black male, and I don't watch too much liberal propaganda. I like Seinfeld. I think he's funny. But when you have Barack Obama on your show, on your comedians and cars getting coffee, I'm looking at it more like a liberal indoctrination session. You're trying to use popular media to impose liberalism on others. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. But for now, I just want to recap the comedians and cars getting coffee featuring Mr. One Barack Hussein Obama. If you don't know what comedians and cars getting coffee is, it's a show where Jerry Seinfeld has, a beautiful classic car, and he takes famous people, usually 9 times out of 10 comedians, and they drive around in the car and they talk. They have like an impromptu kind of interview. It's not really an interview. It's kind of like a more of a laid back conversation. And they talk about it in the car. There's always an old school fancy car. And then they go to a coffee shop and they talk some more. And then they come back in the actual vehicle. Now, I'm not really a car buff myself, but for those out there that are, the car that they were in today was a 63 Corvette Stingray. It was a split window coupe. It's a beautiful car. But see, normally the people that Seinfeld interviews with, usually Seinfeld will drive the car, he'll go to their house or wherever they're at and pick them up and drive them to a coffee shop. But with Obama, you can't really just take him in the car and drive off the lot. So what he did was he drove the car into the White House. They let him in, got out, and then Obama was in his office. Seinfeld sits at a table, eats an apple. I think the whole thing was really orchestrated and scripted to make Obama seem one kind of way. And some parts that were not as favorable, they cut out. If it was a part in the conversation that really didn't go towards Obama's plan to make himself look one way or what was approved, it was a lot of editing. And I've never seen so many transitions in my life. And the transition was like a coffee mug being poured. So every few seconds, it was a different way to pour coffee into a mug as a transition. I thought that was pretty interesting and kind of weird, but at the same time, I understand because you're dealing with the president here. Getting back to the actual flow of events. So after they're in the front office with the apple, they go out to the car. Now, mind you, he's wearing a suit, so is Obama, but Seinfeld's wearing like some old school Nikes. Like when I say old school, I don't mean like Nike Cortez. I'm talking about like Nike Shocks. If you remember those, they had like the springs in the back. So if you're playing basketball, you can jump higher. I mean, that's what those look like. I'm not really sure what they are. They get out to the car, and Seinfeld drives, and they drive up to the actual front gate, and they got this big security guard guy, bald head guy, and he's like, "Hey, you're not going anywhere," which obviously was scripted because you can't just take the president outside the gate in a regular car like that with no security. So then they go back. They drive around the White House grounds. And they go back to Obama's presidential car, the big Humvee or whatever that is. It's not a Humvee. It's like a Escalade, like a very big SUV that's armored, bulletproof. They get in the back and they're talking, but they don't actually drive in that. They just go ahead and get out and go back into the White House. By the way, I'm not a liberal or anything. I'm not really an Obama lover, but the White House is beautiful on the inside. I mean, I wonder how much they pay just to keep that whole thing maintained. The Christmas decor, I mean, everything was spotless. I mean, they probably got a whole army in there working just to keep the White House clean and maintained. So they're going through the White House. They're talking some more. And then after a few seconds, they end up in the basement dining hall. So it's like a full facility in the basement where you got, stainless steel appliances, you got TVs, you got a coffee shop, all of that. And that's where the majority of the episode takes place, down in the basement facility that they have right at the White House to drink coffee, to eat food or whatever. And it's not just them in there. It's like other staffers in there just chilling. It was kind of a surreal thing. And the way that the actual facility was set up, you got stainless steel appliances and you got TVs, but you also have like tile on the wall. It's kind of like old school grandma kitchen / ultra modern in the way that the appliances are, white cabinets, old school stuff. So they're down there talking, and they're not talking about a lot really, kind of like anecdotal stuff, talking about past presidents that have been there, talking about One key thing that Jerry Seinfeld was saying to Obama throughout the whole thing was that when people talk to Obama, they're not really being themselves. They're putting on the act in the show. And I think that whole thing can go the other way as well. I think Obama puts on the act in the show. But to his credit, like I said, I'm not an Obama fan, but to his credit, I mean, he's a very good actor if that's what he's doing, because he's smooth as silk. You know, cool as the other side of the pillow, like my man Stuart Scott would say, rest in peace. But he's a very smooth guy. And I think this whole comedians in cars getting coffee is a way for him to let you know that. And to let you know that he can be a force on TV, somebody that you'll be able to see for years to come, and it won't be weird or awkward. Like, if you were to see somebody like Jeb Bush on TV after he becomes president, which he won't, but if you were, it'd be weird and awkward. You know, they talk for a while, and then they go back out to the car. Now this time Obama drives for a little while, you know, and he's revving it up, and he's burning rubber, which is funny because and the way they had to edit it made it seem as though they were driving like outside, but really they were inside the White House grounds the entire time. They did not one time leave the White House grounds. They were there the entire time, from driving around in the car, from being in the actual presidential big SUV, to being in the actual facility where they had the coffee. All of that was on the White House grounds. Overall, probably about a 19-minute episode. Pretty well done. And I have links in the description box below if you want to see the full thing. But my overall verdict of this is that this is where we're going. You know, and I think David Spade said something on TMZ where he was talking about how Obama went on Bear Grylls, and he wasn't really feeling that. He was like, have some dignity. He knows what Obama is doing. He knows that he's trying to position himself to be like a showbiz guy. Obama wants to be more like Trump, which is funny because you got conservatives that are talking about Trump in a negative way. And it's like, look, man, don't try to fight Trump. You need to emulate what he's doing. You can disagree with what he says, but you can't disagree with the results that he's getting. Donald Trump is the best marketeer in the entire election. He has spent like next to no money on the election, but yet he dominates in the polls. Jeb Bush has spent so far $35 million. I said before in the video, I think it might have been in my RNC debate recap video, that Jeb Bush has spent $25 million. But I know now that he's spent more than $35 million, and yet that doesn't even have him in the top 5. He's not even up there with people like Marco Rubio, who is a total rhino. Trump is obliterating all other people, even my man Ben Carson, who I love. Right? It's because of the way he's doing it. It's because of the marketing strategy that he has. And my man Alfonso Rachel with Zoe Nation made a video, I think it was a couple of days ago, might have been on New Year's Day. Matter of fact, New Year's Day, Friday, which is when they always release the Zoe Nations on PJ Media. But what he said in the video was spot on. I'll provide a link in the description box below. But what he said was about how conservatives need to embrace pop culture more. We don't need to do what the liberals do and the way they do it, but we need to have something that counterbalances it. We need to have something that competes with it. We can't just allow them to take the pop culture and do whatever they want with it without any opposition. That's like having a race where people are running, but there's only one candidate running. So how can that person lose ever if they're never opposed? That's kind of what he was getting at. You know, they're indoctrinating children from a young age in school. You know, they get them on TV. They get them everywhere. They get them in the street. We must have something that does the same thing. See, Obama gets it because he's on Bear Grylls, you know, the show he has where he's in the woods eating stuff. He's setting himself up post-presidency to be what Donald Trump is right now, you know. And you got people, everyone else kind of gets it except for conservatives for some reason, except for establishment conservatives. Even Hillary Clinton, which I don't think it'll work, but you know, she's trying to pander to the black vote, of course, because the Democrat Party is a party of slavery. So you have to get your black slaves to vote, which was very successful with Barack Obama in 2012, getting 94% of the black vote. You know, you got Hillary Clinton shucking and bucking with Roland Martin, and I did a video about that. But her doing that, it solidifies her in the black space. You know, she has a logo, which I think is hot. The logo, I don't like Hillary, but her logo is hot fire. The logo, it seems very simple, but the way that they manipulate it and do things with it is hot. You know, and even though I'm offended a little bit, or I'm kind of like, okay, you're pandering, I can't deny what she has been able to do. Like she did the logo with Rosa Parks. I mean, of course, it appears as if she's in the back of the logo, which defeats the whole purpose of celebrating Rosa Parks because, you know, she was somebody that's in the front of the bus that got told to sit in the back. So to have her in the back kind of defeats the purpose. But to someone that does not understand that, to the average individual, they just say, oh, well, I like this. She's approachable. She's somebody that I can relate to. And she also had the Hanukkah, not Hanukkah. She also had the Kwanzaa inspired logo redesign. Like she always does something different with it to impact what's going on with socially. Even though I know that's pandering and it's silly, how can you compete against that? The average American that is a Democrat voter would eat it up. How can somebody like Scott Walker or Marco Rubio compete against that? The only thing Marco Rubio has is his attractiveness with, maybe white female GOP voters. But what about the average American that wants to see you engage in a modern way? You got to do it. That's why Trump is winning, and that's why everyone else is losing. And this here with Barack Obama solidifies my point. And he'll keep doing this. It's his last year. He knows that he wants to go on and do different things. He'll still be in D.C. doing different things. He's good for life because he set himself up and making the proper moves to do so. Now, if the GOP wants to compete with him, we need to be doing some of the same things, not delivering his same message, which, by the way, at the end, he gave a shameless plug for Obamacare because I guess it didn't come up naturally throughout the conversation. So at the end, he realized that he didn't get it across. So he shamelessly plugged Obamacare. And I'm surprised he didn't plug the gun control thing, which is coming up soon. And that'll be coming up once he does State of the Union, I think next week, January 12th. So that's coming up pretty soon. And he'll probably do some more of these things to promote whatever he wants to have done. And conservatives, if you want to be in the race, you got to compete. And you can't be competing on an old, broken down car. That's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please rate, comment, share, subscribe. Peace.